What's up, everybody? It's Hardy Construction. You can find us at hardyconstruction.tumblr.com, youtube.com/hardyconstruction, facebook.com/the Hardy Construction. We host Comp, and
Glass Square.
today's film is
Late Phases.
Holy
when
crap.
is that? 2014.
Holy crap. Late Phases 2014, directed by Adrian Garcia Bogliano. Written by Eric Stoltz. Starring Nick D'Amici, Ethan Embry, and Lance Guest, and a bunch of furry friends. When deadly beasts attack from the forest, it is up to a grizzled veteran to uncover what the residents of a secluded retirement community are hiding. So this is a werewolf horror film, and we've done maybe 2 or 3 werewolf horror films.
We did Dog Soldiers, and
we've done 2.
and we did Werewolf in London or whatever. And
oh, you're right. Oh, so we've done we've done like 4 of them maybe, and then we did the 2 Ginger Snaps films. The second one,
oh right,
I love a lot.
I think we've done every werewolf film that exists because there really aren't that many, or that are good at least.
That's probably true. I'm not really a fan of werewolf movies. I don't know why, but I don't know. For some reason, I like Dog Soldiers, and we did that one.
Yeah, I like the concept of werewolves. I guess it's not easy to do it well or something.
Yeah, I think with werewolves, it's just I don't know what it is how to explain it, because there's people that obviously have fascination with werewolves and lycanthropy, which is the idea of a person who thinks they're turning into a werewolf and stuff like that. But anyway, Late Phases. Why did you pick this film, this 2014 film, which I've never heard of? I
always see the image on Netflix.
Okay, so it's a Netflix film. Okay. Well, it's not a Netflix film. It was on Netflix.
It was on Netflix, and it has good star ratings, so I figured, let's give it a shot.
There's plenty of Paranormal Activity had good star rating, I'm sure. Anyway, so Late Phases, 2014. This is the first English-language film directed by Adrian Garcia Bogliano. I think he's Hispanic or Spanish.
He did B is for Bigfoot in ABCs of Death.
Yeah, well, I don't give a shit about any Bigfoot creatures either, but I don't remember that one, so I don't know.
It was the one where the parents were telling a scary story to the kid, and then it was, like, real at the end?
Nope, don't remember it, really. I really don't. Also, he is Spanish. He's from Spain. He did a couple of films that came out that are mostly Spanish-language films. And I guess he must have gotten in with the ABCs of Death crowd. So, like you said, B is for Bigfoot. Anyway, so you saw a high rating for this, and you said, let's go watch a werewolf movie. I had gotten this confused because I always go to this horror... I always Google horror VOD release date to know what movies are coming out, new horror movies are coming out, just, just keep in check for this podcast. And there was a movie I think we should do coming up called When Animals Dream, or something like that. It's a Denmark horror film. Is Denmark? Yeah, Denmark. Yeah, for some reason I thought that was a language. No, Denmark. It's a. How would you say? Are they Danes?
They're Danish.
Danish, right?
Yeah.
So it's a Danish horror film, and on that site it said it was like one of the best horror films, but it also rings a little bit of Ginger Snaps. So I was like, do I really want to see another? Because I think we've covered about 100 movies where women and their sexuality are turning into monsters. It seems like that's a huge
that's actually very true, I would say.
It's a huge genre, and I think it's a whole, a lot of films do that. Obviously, we even saw Teeth and stuff like that. There's a lot of films that deal with sexual. This has nothing to do with it, so I was pleasantly surprised by Late Phases. Although I will say I did have some issues with it. So get into the story, Danny, of what Late Phases is about.
It's about a cranky blind old war veteran who moves into an old age community, like a gated community. And
what war was this guy in? Was he in the Vietnam War, I assume?
I think he was in Vietnam, yeah. He was not that old. He was like...
No, I think the actor's not that old. He was playing older, but he clearly was not... Listen, there's 2 things that I'm just going to bring them up right now. Even though the movie is very enjoyable, there is a horrible misstep in special effects and makeup effects in this film, because the guy playing him, Nick D'Amici, if you look at the guy playing him, the guy's he looks like he's in his mid-40s. He's a very young guy.
He's 55. I'm looking at.
Is he really?
Right now.
Okay,
yeah.
Well, either way, 55. Vietnam veterans mostly are like in their late 60s or 70s by now, and you can see that they painted on like age lines on his face and makeup and stuff, and he looks like he just has bad makeup on, like he's older. But the guy's such a good actor. He sort of looks like Paul Newman meets who's the guy from Death Wish? Charles Bronson. So
Okay.
he talks like Charles Bronson throughout the movie, but he looks like Paul Newman. So it's like funny. It's like, hey, it's Paul fucking Bronson or Charles Newman. And but he's a very good actor. Nick D'Amici, like he carries the whole film. He's fucking awesome, and he has these great the contact lenses. I'll give him that they're great. He's blind in the movie, even though he turns on lights
Yeah.
because that makes sense. A blind
This
man has to
movie
have his
is-
lights on in the house. But
This
go ahead.
movie's
What?
like funny. No, it's just funny. Like it's like I kind of was like trying. I was like laughing at parts that you're not supposed to laugh at because it's like this like dramatic music as this guy's like fumbling for like a grip on something, and it did it so many times. It was like
It's just because you laugh at blind people in general. It's just you
Well,
have a
I
very
mean,
fucked up sense of humor.
What's not to laugh at?
But anyway, but yeah, so he is playing a guy named Ambrose McKinley. He has a very strained relationship with his son. Apparently, he just buried his mother. I'm sorry, the son's mother, so that would be his wife. And but the thing is, he kind of skipped out on the family when he was going blind because of eye trauma during the war. So that was obviously a long, long time ago. And he
Yeah.
doesn't have a real relationship with his son, although his son, is setting him up in this. What was the name of the whole housing community? Do you remember? I kind of like skipped out on that.
I can't remember. I'm trying to look.
His son is played by Ethan Embry. He's an actor that you've probably seen him in a bunch of things.
He's got a face like he always looks like worried or something. Like you
Yeah.
can't explain it.
He was in The Walking Dead recently. He played Carter. He was one of the guys that was like doubting Rick, and he got killed in the woods because he got bit. If you
Yeah, he was also in Once Upon a Time.
I tried to watch Once Upon a Time, and it looked like a cosplay show because
It's
everybody
kinda-
was like,
It kind of is, but I watched like the first.
"You
two
and Thea
seasons.
watched that show, right?" I wasn't sure.
I'm not up to date at all. I saw like the first two seasons, and it's fun in like a guilty pleasure sort of way.
And I don't mean to put down the show, although I will right now, because I turned on the TV because I'm sure there's plenty of like huge fans of that series, and I'm sure they listen to this show too. And I saw it, and I just looked at I guess there was somebody being Cruella de Vil, and there was a woman dressed up as Maleficent, but it looked like it looked like the word. It looked like they came out of Party City or something with the costumes. It just looked very weird. I was like, what the hell's wrong with these costumes and shit? Anyway, enough of my shitting on that show. I'm sure it's a very good show. It's still on TV, so good for them.
It's fun. It's fun.
Anyway, Ethan Embry plays his son. What the hell is his name?
Will.
Okay,
Will.
so Will's his son, and he's driving him up. Ambrose has a dog with him, and he's a seeing eye dog, his guide dog. Even though he really doesn't, really have the apparatus that a guide dog has. A guide dog sort of has that weird
Like
sort
harness thing.
Yeah, weird harness. The dog had a harness, but it just had like a leash. So I don't understand. Whatever.
He doesn't need it because he is too prideful.
Right, that's true. So Ambrose is very distant to his son, even though his son is setting him up, and Ambrose is very kind of direct and to the point with people. He just doesn't want to deal with people. He explains it later on that once he lost his sight, that he sort of became bitter, and he couldn't see the joy that he had of his son and his wife. So he just kind of became this bitter asshole. And
Right.
Anyway, he moves into this retirement community. He looks much younger than everybody else in the community besides the supposed were person that's in the film. And
the priest isn't. Well, the priest I guess doesn't live there technically.
Right, the priest is Tom Noonan. Tom Noonan, we've seen in a bunch of films. We actually saw him in that '80s film, that '80s
I
inspired.
recognized him. I just couldn't figure it out.
He was in The House of the Devil, and he was also in Manhunter, where he played. He played the red dragon in that movie. I forget the name of the character's name, but he's this guy obsessed with a painting called the Red Dragon. And Tom Noonan, obviously, very good actor. He does one of the greatest runs I've ever seen in cinema history in this movie. The way he ran, I pictured that's how you run when you're scared. Because he's sort of like this tall, lanky guy, and I was like, I'm sure that's how Danny runs, like when he's scared of something. Although I've never seen him. Have you ever run scared from something? Because I have had in the past, but I don't know what I've looked like when I run.
I have no idea. He was also in RoboCop too. He was the
Oh,
bad guy.
was he? Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
you're right. Oh, yeah, he was. He was that digital face on the robot's stomach, right?
Yeah,
Like
exactly.
he was sort of a Krang, a proto Krang. Although I'm sure they came out around the same time. Anyway, so Tom Noonan plays a priest who has a coughing fit in this film because I guess he has emphysema or something like that. There's two of them that have emphysema. Anyway,
I
so
thought they were gonna like expand upon that, but they didn't.
I think they did. No, we knew what that point was. I thought like the Ambrose was gonna have some sort of sixth sense and be like, "Oh, you got emphysema," like he could hear his lungs because he has Daredevil's powers or some shit like that because he's blind.
Right.
But I think what the whole point of that is that he heard Okay, so let's get into it. There is a neighbor that is right next to his an adjoining house. I don't know if the houses are too close to each other, but a neighbor gets attacked and then by this wolf, a werewolf.
Dolores.
And also his dog gets fatally injured, and he has to kill his dog.
You know what Dolores rhymes with?
Mulva?
Never mind.
Never
It
mind.
was just.
So,
yeah.
see,
Okay,
that was
you
a
got the joke.
Scientologist. So anyway, so he heard the ragged breathing of this wolf. So later on in the film, we hear, that priest coughing and having that sort of emphysema, ragged breathing, and we're led to believe that the
okay.
the
I
priest.
didn't
That's
actually make
that
that
was the whole
connection.
point of him listening to that, and that's when the other character does it, we're like, oh, I see. So this film does sort of have a whodunit sort of effect to it, and
Yeah.
very weird. I thought the woman who played Elvira, the Mistress of the Dark, was in this movie, but then I realized Elvira still looks very hot.
Right. And
So
her
it was
boobs
another.
are way
It's
too
another
big for
actress
this
called.
movie.
It was Tina Louise. It was the woman from fucking Gilligan's Island. It was Ginger from Gilligan's Island.
she's Dolores.
No, she was the redhead woman that was like.
The bitch.
Yeah, one of the trio of bitches in the film. How dare you,
wow.
bitches? That's a very gender specific.
No, she's a female dog. It's a werewolf reference.
Oh, that's true. She does turn into a wolf. Yes. So anyway, the film does kind of play off as a whodunit. Why do you think they call it late phases? Is it just because it's like old people and like their late phases in life or something like that? Some people were wondering.
I was kind of thinking maybe that was it. Honestly, I wasn't so sure.
Yeah,
But,
my main issue is the look of the werewolves myself, and I know that's a very petty thing to look, but like to me, a werewolf film, like it hinges on the look of. It's hard to obviously make a believable looking werewolf. You know what I mean? Like,
I actually liked it.
I know
when
you
said
did.
that to me.
You said that, but I'm just saying for me myself, like it's almost like a vampire. You know what? You can make a vampire many different ways look cool. Do you know what I mean? Like there's 30 Days of Night, a movie I didn't even see, but the vampires in that sort of look like these goth weirdos, and they look pretty neat. And they just kind of digitally morph their faces. And then you can see vampires in another movie I didn't see, which was Salem's Lot. When that big white whatever the fuck bald guy, that thing that scared the shit out of me when I looked at the poster.
Barlow.
Yeah, you can do plenty of vampire different things. Werewolves are based on dogs, or wolves. So you sort of have to fit within a guideline of how do you make them? Do you make them into a wolfman or a werewolf? Which is sort of like an American werewolf in London is, it's a werewolf, where it's an actual sort of humanoid dog.
I love.
No, not a humanoid
I
dog.
love
It's just
it
like a
from now
dog,
on.
right? That's a great looking dog, as opposed to like Dog Soldiers, which is a werewolf man, like a werewolf humanoid, which I fucking love the designs of those, even though they probably look just as fake as this
hold
one.
on, I'm looking up a picture of one because I forgot.
They're just giant men and huge dogs.
Oh yeah, no, it is.
You know how they look
cool.
great, you know what I mean? And then there's also the classic wolf man, which is basically like a hairy looking man. Even if you saw It, when the kid freaks out in the bathroom and he sees the wolf man coming after him, those are pretty classic sort of styles of werewolves. My favorite type is the one that's in Dog Soldier, which is like a sort of a giant wolf man, an anthropomorphic wolf man. This movie, they do that angle, but
Like,
I tell you this, I was watching 15 minutes into the movie, I was looking at it, and like usually they try to obscure the wolf, or they'll do a POV shot of it, and they do try to obscure the wolf, but I just did not like the way the designs of the wolf look. I hated the wolf, how they looked in this movie. I really did. Like, I mean, I was like 15 minutes in.
They look like goblins, kind of.
Right. They look like, gremlins, sort of. And
Yeah.
watching it, I was like, when I saw this first like 12 minutes, like the first attack happens, and you see the wolf, I was like, oh boy, this looks like shit. Like this looks really bad. Thankfully, I stayed through, and the movie's actually very good because it's so funny that the guy, the guy immediately, once he hears, oh, it's a full moon tonight. Oh, it's got to be werewolves. I got to make sure because he smelled a dog, and he's blind, so he can't tell if it's a fucking giant man that's a wolf man attacking him. He just smelled an animal.
He doesn't know how shitty or good the werewolf looks.
Right, he can't tell this is bad special effects. And within the meat of the film is him preparing for 30 days to. I wonder why in werewolf films I guess a full moon is only on one night. I'm always confused if a full moon is on 3 nights.
They don't always follow the rules. They sometimes do it the day before and the day after too.
And sometimes they do it sometimes they do it 3 days in a row or something like that. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, but a full moon is technically only one day, I think.
Okay. So the meat of the film is he gets, he has to kill his dog, and then he has some interactions with these two police officers. One of them, I'm pretty sure I saw him in what the hell is that show, The Sopranos and stuff like that. Al Sapienza. He's like one of those Italian actors that plays like either a cop or a Goomba in every film. He's in a lot of fucking movies.
Oh, which character was he?
He was the Italian police officer. He was like the clean cut guy. He wasn't the guy with the beard. He wasn't the asshole.
The one that
guy.
kept saying, "Lang, cut it out."
Yeah, him. And so he just deals. We're seeing Ambrose dealing with those characters. The guy Nick Demichi is a great fucking actor in this film, even though it sounds like he's sort of doing Charles Bronson throughout the film. You know what I mean? That's why he's playing.
Well, it took me a little while because at first it kind of threw me off, but then I grew to like it. His acting, but I grew to like it.
What threw you off about his acting?
Well, just at first, I don't know, it was just so clipped and direct, and I don't know.
Did you think it was a little too cartoonish or something?
A little bit, but then I started to adjust to it, and I started liking it.
Yeah, he's when I say he sounds like Charles Bronson, he really does sound like he's acting like Charles Bronson. Like any Death Wish movies, or any Charles Bronson movie. I don't know if Charles Bronson really acted any differently in his films, or if you've watched The Simpsons where they parody Charles Bronson, he sounds like the parody of Charles. Yeah, it's true. Because I remember one of the funny things in The Simpsons. It was they went to a town that was full of Charles Bronsons, and it was just the worst Charles Bronson impersonations ever. And right. I think it was Bronson, Missouri. It was such a stupid joke, but it was one of the greatest jokes ever. And they have one of the best Death Wish jokes I've ever heard on The Simpsons, which I didn't understand until 10 years later when I saw it, because I was a stupid kid, and I was like, oh, I get it, that's funny. But yeah, he's basically doing Charles Bronson. I liked Nick Demichi a lot, and you really, with the film like this where the supernatural element is sort of pushed to the background for at least 40 minutes straight. This is kind of like
a drama in ways.
It is. It feels like it's a drama with an older man sort of finding his place in life, because obviously he had a life before he had to move to a retirement community. As weird as it was, because he's a blind guy and he's bitter and he doesn't have a relationship with his kid. And, he doesn't have a wife anymore, and he has to be in these new surroundings, and he's sort of a gruff he's not a likable guy. Although he doesn't outwardly, I guess he is outwardly a dick sometimes, but he does, apologize to people like that woman's house.
He was definitely a dick.
He was just sort of an asshole. He visited that woman's house whose husband was in the iron lung. Could you imagine, being in, what's the point of going on if you're in an iron lung?
I would definitely kill myself.
I've heard about, how could you if you're in the iron lung? But they're I remember hearing horror stories where, there's been, electrical outlets, and, the powers have gone out of cities and shit like that, and people in iron lung, since it's, electrical, it just goes off and they just die inside the iron lung.
They probably were praying for that to happen.
It seems like such a 1940s thing that still exists. You know what I mean? I don't even know what it does. I don't even want to look into what it does.
It's basically if your lungs are useless, you're stuck in this thing, I think.
Yeah, I just kind of figured you'd become a supervillain or something. It's just you're a head, you're an exposed head, and you're just thinking evil shit.
If you can get one that floats around and you control it with your mind, then
apologies to anybody inside of an iron lung. So there's also that, and then he goes to this weekly sermon, which is Tom Noonan's character is a priest there, Roger Smith, and he's there's another guy who is
That's the name of the character from American Dad, isn't it?
Roger.
I think
Yeah,
it
yes,
is.
he is. So there's this other guy, Lance Guest, who is playing James Griffin, who is one of the other. Does he live in the? I was never clear on who he was and what he was doing, and I guess he was sort of a servant of the priest.
I think he lives there, and he lives there, and he's friends with the priest. And I wonder if Griffin is a reference to Family Guy. That's very strange.
Maybe. I mean, I don't know. Maybe the Spanish guy was like, "Oh man, this is gonna be funny to only me." The director.
He loves Seth MacFarlane.
And anyway, so he goes to these religious excursions, and he's there only because he has this suspicion of the priest, and we later find out. It was so funny because the first half of the film seems like sloppily directed, but then once the introduction of James Griffin is like the Wolfman,
awesome.
like it's really well done. Like everything after that moment on is like directed very well, and I was like, what happened? Like, did they shoot this film in like in order?
5-year intervals,
and the guy
or
just
something?
and the guy just became a better director midway through the film, because just the sequence alone where the guy is exposed as the Wolfman, because it was just edited so well done. Like,
I love the way it cut to it, like so quick.
Right, because he goes to the gun shop because he wants to buy silver bullets for his gun, and he wants to buy it for his shotgun.
Oh, do you know who the gun guy was? Did you recognize him? He was
the guy
Bobby
from
Twin Peaks.
Oh, I recognize the guy from the headstone. He was the guy from he was the hippie boyfriend or the hippie husband from We're Still Here.
I recognize
Okay, I didn't recognize the guy from Twin Peaks, but like you watched that show. I didn't watch that show. And
fine.
Yeah. And you did, not me. And he was I just love how it was edited, how he goes to that guy and he's like, who was the last person that did this? Well, and it just cuts to that religious song and then the guy, and I mean, it's just really well done. Even like the final assault with the wolves, as shitty as they looked, it was cool, you know what I mean? I was like sad that he got killed.
I wasn't expecting there to be like 4 of them, but I guess that's all the people.
That's like, a little, I thought that was a little bit too like, okay, this guy is going to protect himself, so he's going to make more wolves, like, and then I guess he had some sort of weird sort of reasoning behind it, like to love someone is to kill them. I don't know what the fuck it was, so he wouldn't turn into a wolf. That's why I guess that was his reasoning for killing the priest instead of turning him into a wolf himself. It was just very strange. Like,
well, he did see that the guy had the bag of bullets, so
right.
He was preparing, I guess.
But I think the second half of this film really amps it up really well, and I think that the Nick is great. Every actor is really good. This is a film full of older actors, which I know Danny loves.
Yeah.
And it felt mature, and it was really good acting on everybody's part.
I really didn't care about the whole like Will and his dad thing too much, but it was.
You think that was sort of a forced sort of?
Well, it was just like unnecessary. It was just like drama in the middle of what could be.
I think it was just to add depth to his character and reasoning of why he was a dick. You know what I mean? Because he couldn't. If he was just like an old man who was an asshole and he didn't have any family, this was sort of like Gran Torino with wolves. You know what I mean? Like. Like fucking Clint Eastwood, although Ambrose McKinley didn't sing a song at the end of the movie, and he didn't have one of the worst acting Asian actors in the history of cinema talking to him.
I never saw that movie. Who was the worst actor?
Oh, brother. I mean, it's a good film because Clint Eastwood, I think he wanted that to be his final film, like his final like acting role, but I think he did like another movie after it, but he was like this crotchety old man, and he gets into trouble with like a local Hmong. Hmong is a sort of Asian race. And I assume they are an Asian race. A race of... I don't even know what I'm saying, if it's racist or not. Hmong are an Asian people. That's what I meant to say, which Hmong. And they're a community, and he deals with this Hmong gang. And one of the actors is this young kid who becomes this sort of like... his adopted son, because he had a shitty relationship with his real son. And that kid is one of the worst actors I've ever seen in the history of cinema.
I wonder why he would cast it, because
I don't know.
Like a really talented
Maybe he was the only Hmong actor, because there were other Hmong actors in the movie.
I just looked up the word Hmong. It's an ethnic group from the mountainous regions of China, Vietnam, Thailand, Laos. I'm not sure.
Laos,
I'm
I
saying
think.
it right. Yeah.
Anyways, enough of that. If you watch,
We just learned something, everybody.
well, I knew it, so I'm a teacher. So yeah, if you want to see a movie without werewolves, with an old man yelling at people, go watch that movie, Gran Torino. It's a good movie. But I liked Ambrose's sort of one man against the world. It's sort of like They Live. He's sort of like dealing with a conspiracy only in his mind, although he's not outright saying, in another movie the guy would be like, it's werewolves, and he's running around screaming it's werewolves. In this, he just sort of keeps quiet about it. Like, even when he asks the gun shop owner, he's like, when you think of silver bullets, what comes to mind? And I just love doing that voice. And the guy says, the Lone Ranger. And I was like, okay, so Ambrose is not going to push him, but like, no, fucking werewolves. He wasn't doing stuff like that. So right. I like that he sort of treated it realistically, although it was a gigantic leap for him to think of fucking werewolves. Even I, in my right mind, if I saw a werewolf, I would think it's a dog.
He's not in his right mind, though.
Why is that?
Because he's like a cranky old man who's like gonna die soon and is miserable and like traumatized by war.
So you think this was just a leap of faith in his mind just to make his life interesting, that there'll be werewolves?
I honestly, I do. I think he was looking for a reason to go out with a bang.
I liked the film. I liked it a lot. It's a good suggestion for a movie. Although, like, that is the main thing. Like, the special effects of the werewolves are horrible. I can't stand the way they look.
Well, I don't agree with that. I like them.
That's fine,
I could see what you're saying, but you didn't think that transformation scene was fucking awesome?
No, that's great. No. Here's the thing. Yeah, you're right. The transformation scene was awesome. That was done in a really, really fucking good way.
That was some of the best special effects I've ever seen.
That was obviously a lot of the budget went into that one sequence, because it was like one camera movement where it panned from the priest, Roger Smith, and it moves to the guy turning into a wolf, and then back to the priest. This is why I say the second half of the movie is a lot better. Because
that scene alone, was worth the movie for me.
Oh yeah, that's great. Like, everything in the second half of this film, the part where the guy is exposed as the wolf, the part where he turns into a werewolf, stuff like that, the final shootout with them, even when the guy's the funny part is the asshole guy who opens the for some reason I thought he was going to be the wolf, the guy, the guard at the gate.
Oh, yeah.
He looks at the TV and he sees a fucking wolf running, and he goes, huh! And he just runs out and locks the gate, had me fucking laughing, because that was exactly what I would have done. That's really well done.
Me too.
That's really, the second half of this film is really well done and is worth fucking watching. And, it is sort of a whoddunit angle, but, it really doesn't matter if we spoiled it or not, because the guy's
it doesn't matter
obvious,
who done it. It's just fun to watch. That's
were there any negatives to this film that you thought didn't work for you? But you said the relationship.
They were trying to like shoehorn in like some like drama. I get it, but like they could have eased off. It was a little heavy-handed. Let's put it that way.
Because there's people online saying, "Oh, the movie's fun. It's not a good movie, but I liked it anyway." But I think it's a good movie. It's a decent horror film. And it's more of a drama than it does turn into a horror film. It's sort of one of those 60%.
It did what that horrible movie Mom that we watched.
Oh yeah. I think didn't I not hate that movie? You hated it, right? And I didn't think it was that bad.
Well, you didn't like it. You just didn't think it was horrible. I thought it was horrible. But that movie, I don't even remember what that movie was about. The mother was like a mutant monster, right, or something like that? She turned into like either a vampire or werewolf. I forget. I think it was a werewolf, maybe. Either way, she, that movie was like trying to do comedy, horror, and drama all in one, and it like couldn't decide, and it was so terrible. Like, this movie kind of tries to do horror and drama in one, but it can't decide all the time, and it doesn't always work. But it is much, obviously, way better than that movie Mom.
Well, there's a lot of movies that are better than that movie, but I enjoyed this film as a werewolf movie. It was pretty cool because it was dealing with a main character who was interesting enough that you wanted to follow him along, and the guy was like such a good actor. But then again, you can be like, oh, he's just doing another person, like he's just doing another character. But I liked them. I liked it enough that I was like, oh, this is pretty good. I'll stick with it, even with those horrible special effects. Although the guy turning into a werewolf was a great effect. That whole sequence alone was fucking awesome because it was just kept panning back and forth between the priest and the guy mutating into a wolf, or turning into a wolf. So that's worth it alone. There's some decent gore in the film, especially when they eat the head of the guy in the iron lung and stuff like that.
Apparently, Larry Fessenden, the guy with the crazy hair, who was the hippie dude, and
right,
he produced this, or his company produced it.
I think he does a lot of producing and writing scripts for horror films. I think he sort of is in that. But there's decent gore in this film. It feels realistic. I liked it, except for that the guy turning other people into werewolves. That was sort of, I didn't understand that sort of reasoning in the film. I think they just did that just to have a final assault, that sort of thing.
Right.
I sort of knew towards the end that this guy was going to die. The main character, just because it's one of those films where
I wasn't sure. I kind of figured it out though, like the very end.
That happens a lot in one of these older guys' Last Stand movies. That it just happens a lot because I think the characters are supposed to fulfill this destiny where their lives have become mundane and they need to go out with a bang. So it's sort of
right.
They all follow that sort of that template.
If I had to die, I'd go out killing werewolves. That'd be awesome.
Well, good luck on finding them. Anyway, with that, I would give this movie a 7 out of 10. Letting a blind man go into your house while you get something for him to drink and he almost turns off your husband's iron lung.
Okay. I'm going to give this a also 7 out of 10. Seeing you're a priest and you see this guy that has like all these delusions and whatever, and then you actually see giant wounds on his chest instantly heal, and you still think that he's crazy.
What's funny is that this movie also shows the bitchy subculture of retirement homes. When those 3 ladies were like, we want him driven somewhere else. It's a real fucking clique over there in those old people's homes. Anyway,
it's just high school to old age homes. There we go.
Do you imagine though if Ginger if that guy had found out she was Ginger from Gilligan's Island, he would have been trying to fuck her. Ginger. Yeah, he'd be like, trying to get her on an island, a sex island. Anyway, that with Danny. What's the final word?
2011-12.
The horror deconstruction.